The last thing, guys, that I want to pick your brains about before we wrap up tonight regards Record Sport columnist Tam McManus. His latest column, which is on Record Sport Online just now, if anyone wants to check it out, is regarding Hibs versus Hearts, but in the transfer sense. Despite Hearts being potentially in the brink of an historic title, top of the league, closing in on ending the Old Firm dominance, Tam insists that, and I'm just reading this from his column now, in terms of assembling saleable assets and shopping prudently in the market, I see Hibs are way ahead of their city rivals, and it goes beyond the league table. I thought it was a wee interesting debate for us to finish on, given the fact that, as I say, Hearts are the ones that could be lifting the league title in a few weeks.
It's interesting, Dan, and I have seen a few people talk about it on social media, Hibs fans, and there is, he's got a point, but I don't think it's really the time to make that point when your rivals are on the brink of becoming champions for the first time in 66 years, and you're trailing and was it fifth spot in the league?
19 points behind them.
I mean, it's a tough argument to make. I get where he's coming from, and look, although Hearts have had a couple of brilliant successes, your Bragas and Kizaridis, people like that. Mark Leonard's been brilliant as well, coming in. There have been a few that hasn't worked out. I don't think I like Tematos and Chesnikov and is it Borchevnik, the right back, and people like that. No, the other players haven't worked out. Jamestown signings, and I'm sure Derek McInnes will argue you maybe see the best of them next season. And Tam's point is obviously you look at Hibs, they do look as if they've recruited pretty well. You look at the profiles, good ages. A few of them have come in and done really well. Young Irish boy Elding has come in and started really well. He's one they've kind of plucked for nowhere. So I can see where he's coming from, but I don't really think it's the right time to try and peddle that argument when Hearts are in the distance and on the verge of, as I say, becoming champions. And by the way, if they do, doesn't matter who Hibs sign this season, next season, the season after, they will not hear the end of this for the rest of their life. So I think that's part of the problem for Hibs fans. I think that's what they're worried about.
To play devil's advocate, Keith, I mean, mentioned Owen Elding there, but Felix Passlack, Josh Mulligan.
Like him. Josh Mulligan's a great signing.
Chaiwa's good.
Chaiwa, of course, linked with Celtic. McGrath
when did they get Barlaza? See this season? See last summer?
That was last summer, I think. Was he not? I can't remember now.
Hearts signed 14 players over the course of the summer and the January window. Mm-hmm. And if you look through them, there are a few red marks, red crosses against a few that really haven't been big contributors. But I think Scott's right. I think the Jamestown system is you bring them in, you're going to get some that are just ready to fit straight into the first team. Your Bragas, Kizaridis, these type of guys, and there are others that might take 12 months to get up and running. It's certainly not an exact science. So I kind of get as well, Scott. I kind of get Tam's point to an extent, but when one of the guys that Jamestown has brought in is Claudio Braga, and he's been one of the sensations of the entire season. That bit of business alone is going to overshadow any bit of business that went on at Easter Road. Simply in terms of the numbers that it's likely to generate when Braga moves on, if it is this summer or not. Yes, there's been a lot of great work done in the transfer market, really clever stuff by Hibs recruitment wise, but there's not one of them that you would look at and say he's going to be a Claudio Braga when it comes to what size of transfer fee might be on offer, whether it's this summer or beyond.
The other thing about Hearts, Jack, was the Jamestown model. You look at where they've got some of these players for. The cost is so little that I think part of the Jamestown thing is, like you say, see if one or two come in and don't settle and don't work, I think they accept that. Just move them on because they're so cheap. That's the whole point. They take a chance on these guys, in the hope that you get a Braga for the Norwegian second division, and all of a sudden he's worth 5 million a year later. But the flip side of that is there might be a Matos or something who comes in and just doesn't work for them, and they just move him on. I think that's part of the deal.
Yeah, it's almost like what the Premier League clubs, and Tony Bloom probably does it at Brighton, where they go and they there's a lot of them that go for the academy age kids, and they just think, well, do you know what? This is relatively buttons for us, and if we go and get 10 of them, and 3 of them make the first team and 7 don't, who cares? Your 3 that make the first team are going to be worth absolute fortunes. It's just a clever economics, isn't it? And they think that they're protected in doing that by the data, which points out, well, these are the ones with the optimum chance. Small value, but their data is really good. They could be a fit. And if you get 3 or 4 out of 10 right, then you're on the money. You're in the money.
See, while we're on this, actually, we just very quickly before we wrap up, we got a strong response the other night, guys. The night before last, we talked about Claudio Braga. We mentioned that potentially, if you were Celtic or Rangers, it might be tempted to pick up the phone and find out how much Hearts would want for their informed striker.
All of which seems perfectly reasonable.
Perfectly reasonable so far. I'm with you. We got a lot of stick, Keith. We were actually trending at one point on X in the video section, and it was a lot of Hearts fans who were less than delighted. There's 3 or 4, but this is the one I'm going to read out if you've got 1 minute. This is from Adam, who replied to one of our videos on X. He said, "I'm starting to wonder how stupid all the West Coast media in Scotland actually is. Pick up the phone to Tony Bloom. They're referring to the Hearts owner whose long-term ambition is to challenge the duopoly and win a title. Pretty sure the strategy won't be selling their best players to that duopoly. God, this stuff is brain dead. Even if you did pick up the phone, we'd want something astronomical from either one of them to even consider it."
So he's saying the Jamestown Tony Bloom model isn't to develop players and sell them on for a profit. Is that the whole?
I think he says we're brain dead for thinking they'd potentially sell to Celtic or Rangers.
Well, there would certainly be a premium. Of course there would be. If I'm Tony Bloom and Celtic or Rangers, I'm trying to burst into this sort of fight and make it a 3-way thing every season. Of course, if Celtic or Rangers pick up the phone, or if Wigan Athletic pick up the phone, would you get? It's 2 different prices. Of course it is. But there would be a premium involved. The question would be, Rangers or Celtic would need to make the phone call in the first place, which is what we said, to establish, right, okay, we fancy him, name your price. Yep. And as I said to you, I'll bet you there'd be 2 different prices if it was a club for the English Championship, for example, that was interested.
Yep.
And that's fair enough as well. Each club has to run its own business affairs. But if a Celtic or a Rangers did turn around and say, well, £7 million, it would give them a serious question to ask, wouldn't it? It would certainly test their resolve.
I think I know the answer. I think they'd take 7 million, wouldn't they?
Well, yeah. And by the way, if you're a great speculator in the transfer market and you've got your computer programmers there and the data and the system, well, if somebody gives you £7 million, that's like going to the casino with your wallet kind of bulging in your. I mean, I think the idea of Tony Bloom and Derek McInnes looking at it saying, well, we've cashed in here, look at the money we've got, now let's go back to the roulette table and see what we can do. I think that's exactly what Tony Bloom would love to do.
I just wanted to give you guys the right to reply, because when I saw us trending, I thought we'll be getting plaudits again, everyone will be raving about us, so I was rather disappointed when I saw Adam's message. But Adam, if you're watching, hope that satisfies you.